Hi, my name is Erik Bossman. I'm a licensed financial advisor with Strategic Wealth Designers, and today I'm going to be reviewing and potentially debunking some of the most common money myths I hear from individuals and read on the internet. So how do these myths come about? I guess it's probably like any myth out there. You know, maybe somebody who was a terrific storyteller, or maybe a couple of individuals had a certain experience and they told another who told another who told another, and before you know it, everybody has the same preconceived notion of this specific item or thing. So that's really how I think a myth comes about. Just a couple of people having that experience. I mean, it's kind of like Bigfoot, right? A handful of people related to the population have seen him, but before you know it, the myth of Bigfoot is everywhere. So the first one we have here, credit cards are the gateway to debt. Credit cards, though they can produce debt, of course, if you're overspending or spending money you don't have, I actually think a credit card is a very valuable tool to use. Biggest reason for that is the sooner you get a credit card and start using it, the sooner you can show lenders and creditors a credit history and start developing that credit history. Though that may seem small or not important in the beginning, over time when you go to buy a car or a house, that's going to play a big role in the interest rate you get or even the loan you're able to get. So I think credit cards are a very valuable tool, of course in moderation. If you have a credit card, you don't want to max it out every single month and fail to meet the payments. Don't spend money you don't have. But if you're going to be spending it, why not build some of your credit score as well? All right, the next myth we have here, all debt is bad debt. For anybody that's looked into nutrition before, or maybe even a nutritionist watching this video, is all fat bad fat? Are all carbs bad carbs? No, of course not, right? Now, unlike good fat or good carbs, I don't think it's necessary to have debt, absolutely not. I mean, that's a great weight to get off your shoulders, but there is certainly good and bad debt. Examples of bad debt, credit card debt. If you're paying a really high interest rate on that, you're ultimately losing money over time. But good debt could be something like a mortgage, maybe a car loan potentially, depending on how big that loan is. The reason that can be good debt, the interest rate that you got on that debt could be lower than maybe something you could earn elsewhere. Meaning you can let some of that money you're making work for you and just pay this off slowly over time. I think at the end of the day, to think all debt is bad debt, definitely a myth. All right, the next myth we have here, don't talk about money problems with others. I think this is probably one of the biggest myths I want to debunk, because I think it's very healthy to talk about money problems with others. Now, just to preface, I'm not saying walk around, show people your bank account, talk with people when you're out and about, things like that. There's of course a time and a place for everything, but I do think these conversations are really crucial and important to have with loved ones, to have with close friends and family, and especially if you have questions, maybe don't just turn to the internet, maybe reach out to some close people in your life. Because I think that the more we're able to talk about that and destigmatize the awkwardness maybe around talking about money, I think the better that we would all be as a society. It's very similar to feelings, right? There's that preconceived notion that you don't want to talk to others about how you're feeling or how you truly feel. But for those of you who have, doesn't it help a lot? Doesn't it put you in a way better place? Not talking about money with anybody or money problems, definitely want to debunk this myth. Time and a place. Read the room, don't be afraid to talk and ask people for help. It's smarter to buy a home than rent. Now this one's kind of tough. I don't even know if this is really a myth rather than a great question. And the answer to that question is going to be it depends. Now, for you all are thinking, hey, that's just a cop-out answer, let me elaborate on that a little bit. So really it depends on the situation. For most individuals in America, a home is going to be their single largest asset. And so the sooner you can get a home and turn basically what were your monthly rent payments into mortgage payments that turn into equity in your home and continue to build your net worth, it's important to make sure you are ready for that step. What owning a home doesn't give you is flexibility and freedom. It's a really big commitment, and you have a lot more liabilities as well. If you're renting, do you have to worry about your roof? Do you have to worry about leaky faucets? No, of course not. You just call the maintenance man, they figure it out. And then at the end of your lease, if you're ready to change cities or move on, you have the freedom to do so. Whereas a mortgage gets a lot more complicated. I think this would probably be a myth if it said it's always smarter to buy a home than to rent, but really I think it depends on your situation. I think everybody eventually moves into home ownership at some point. Really weigh those pros and cons before jumping into a home, because it is a very large commitment. All right, next myth we've got here. Ooh, this is another good one I really want to debunk. You need to have a lot of money to invest. I think that mindset is actually what hinders people a lot from getting started. And getting started as early as possible is going to be one of the most beneficial things you can do. You know, I don't care if it's $10, $20, $30 a month, a paycheck, whatever it is. You have to start somewhere. All of these people, Elon Musk's, the Jeff Bezos's, all of those different individuals, they didn't start by just putting $1 million in, right? They had to start somewhere. Start investing into a vehicle such as a Roth IRA just each and every month to get used to the idea and the concept of doing that. And then over time, as your income grows, you're gonna feel comfortable to continue to invest more. I think this is a really important one to debunk because I hear all the time, I've got $10, I'm not gonna start. You need to start somewhere, so might as well start now. My producer said that these papers are still in the shot, so I should probably pick these up. Producer man, are we good? Awesome, thanks Z. The safest place for money is in the bank. What do you mean in the bank? Right? Are you talking about just a checking account, a savings account? Sure, I would say that both of those are very, very safe places. You still do run the risk of if that bank goes under, maybe you don't get that back, depending on what bank and how it's insured. A lot of different intricacies there. Ultimately, I would say cash is king. But the safest place for your money is not even going to be in cash. Look at the world right now. Last month, the inflation data was at 9.1%. That means you are losing purchasing power by 9.1% in a given year over the last year on that money sitting in the bank. So if you had $100,000 in the bank, you can only buy $91,000 worth of goods. Now, it is very important to keep some money in the bank as an emergency fund that you can always access at any point in time in case something happens, unexpected life events, things like that. But would you want to keep all of your money in the bank? No, because then you're running the risk of inflation eating at the power of that money. So I think there's a balance. Is the bank the number one place? No. Is it very safe? Yes. So if it said a very safe place for money is in the bank, I would probably agree with that. The safest place for money in the bank, probably wouldn't agree with that there. All right, next myth we have got here. Your 20s are too early to save for retirement. I would say it's just the total opposite. Your 20s are the best time because I think Albert Einstein said it best. The eighth wonder of the world is compound interest. The earlier you start investing, the longer you have for compound interest to work its magic. For anybody who's a cooker or a barbecuer out there, what tastes better, hot and fast or low and slow? The longer you can give time for this money to bake, the more it's going to do for you. I would say that you want to do the total opposite of this. The 20s are actually the best time to start saving. Of course, it's crucial to do it for your whole life, but the earlier, the better. Next myth we have here, this is a good one, I'm really happy about this. Gold is the safest investment. Gold has been around for thousands and thousands of years and used as money and currencies throughout really the entirety of human history. So I think that's probably where a lot of that thought or ideology comes from. But I think Warren Buffett, some of you might have heard of him, kind of a famous investor. I think he said it best when he referred to gold. He said, if I buy a bar of gold and an acre of farmland, 10 years from now, that bar of gold is still gonna be a bar of gold. But that acre of farmland is going to have 10 years worth of production where it's doing something useful for you. Although gold still will hold some sort of value, we don't know what that value is. So I would not say it's the safest investment. The safest investment is going to be something that's earning something and produces more value rather than just sitting there. Because ultimately, as much as I think gold can be a very valuable piece of the portfolio, if you're looking for safety, I would not go all the way into gold. Keep that in mind and take those pieces with you. If you do invest in some farmland, let me know. I love crops. I'm just kidding, sorry. All right, next myth we've got here. Life insurance is just for wage earners. It's not. Life insurance is a really valuable tool that can come in handy in a variety of circumstances. Now, I will say one of the primary purposes or uses of life insurance is going to be for an income earner in the family, or let's just say an individual is in their mid-30s, just started a family, and their income is essential to that family. Then I think life insurance absolutely makes sense, because if something happens to you and you're no longer around, that's going to be potentially years and years of lost income that your family would have to figure out some way or somehow. So I think that's a great use for it, but there's plenty of other circumstances where it makes sense. Take, for example, in the event after retirement of your passing, you might want some life insurance to help cover funeral costs. You also might want life insurance to help pay estate taxes and provide your family some liquidity in the event when you inevitably would pass and pay some of those taxes. That way you don't put your family into a tight situation. So really what I'm getting at here is, although the primary use case is going to be replacing lost income, there are certainly a lot of other uses for it. It's kind of like steak sauce. You don't have to just use it on a steak, even though that's what it says. All right, that is all of the myths that we have for today. If you all have any myths that you would like me to debunk or review, go ahead and just drop those down in the comment below. And if you enjoyed this content or would like to see some more like it, go ahead and just smash that subscribe button. And if you slide to the left and are already doing that, you might as well hit that thumbs up button as well. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you again.